Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Shock and Awe podcast, arguably the most dangerous commentary show on Beyonce's internet. I am your host, Mr. Robbie Hollywood, and what a show we got for you this week. A pandemic of ungrateful celebrity children taking their famous parents to task has been taking the social media by storm. The body positivity movement continues to go larger and larger, pun intended. We will debunk some of its key talking points this week. Cries of racism were heard all over following the release of Jason Aldean's new song, Try That in a Small Town. And our Goofy of the Week goes out to a wannabe magician who attempted a failed disappearance act at the expense of the taxpayer, found out who, and much more on this week's episode of the Shock and Awe podcast. So, if you've been on social media at all as of late, you might have noticed a surge of celebrity children airing grievances against their famous parents for the world to see. From Master P to Kevin McKnight all the way to Russell Simmons and Lil Boosie, these once beloved figures have been dragged through the proverbial mud by their own offspring with tongue lashings like these. Jesse, the receipt.
To talk about this emotions because I finally had enough, and anyone who knows me, there are people in my DM saying I'm ungrateful, whatever. Anyone who knows me knows I have been a good daughter. I have been here for my dad. I have defended him every which way about stuff that I don't even know about. I was like 15 not knowing what sexual assault was, and I'm still defending my dad like my dad's a good person. I have been a good daughter my whole life. And so you're not going to say that I'm ungrateful or awful. This man is awful to me. He has done awful things to me. And I'm so tired of it. And everyone just says, everyone loves your dad.
Ain't my daddy, he's a bitch, pure bitch. That shit not in my blood, never been. No hoe ever beat me up. Yeah, none of no hoe never knocked me out. Yeah, none of that. Yeah, don't ain't nobody ever beat me up. Yeah, let's talk about it. Then one thing I ain't finna do is I don't even Instagram beef or host of like Instagram beefing with about to be 40 or something like that because he lied about his age so much.
Imagine someone logging onto the Wi-Fi that you pay for with a phone you bought just to call you a bitch. With a mouthful of braces that you dropped the bag on. Oh, Lord. First of all, Boosie needs to ply those braces out her mouth. If you're going to fix your mouth to talk about me sideways, you're going to have to cover it in order to hide your jacked up teeth. This is the downfall of raising children in countries with child services. Fear and violence are key components of parenting, and when taken away can have disastrous results. Even the Bible says it in no uncertain terms. You spare the rod, you spoil the child. But see, in Boosie's case, I have to place some of the blame at his feet. No child grows the audacity to call her father a bitch overnight. Boosie knew that little girl wasn't shit from the moment they left the hospital. Everything about her screams ward of the state, and so it should be. Look, you do not fix a bad child by throwing luxury goods at it in hopes that it will develop a sense of gratitude. Gratitude stems from perspective, and perspective comes from an awareness of both sides of the coin. A child that has never known want or poverty will naturally feel entitled to whatever you hand it as its birthright. The only plausible solution here is to let life have at her. I am sure once she has been cleaved from the herd and facing the wilderness by her lonesome, she might learn to appreciate all the luxuries she once took for granted. This approach is even more necessary for the maintenance of the remaining children. No toxic trait is more contagious than ingratitude. It permeates the fabric of every soul it touches in unmanageable ways. Hence why her excision is not only warranted, but must also be used as a cautionary tale for the remaining children. Look, parenting is an imperfect science. Most of us inherit our blueprint from our own parents who are also imperfect. But the reason why you don't air your laundry out in the court of public opinion is because it immediately ruins all avenues of reconciliation. You might end up forgiving your loved one for their trespasses, but the world never forgives. And it will take every possible opportunity to remind them of that. And therefore keeping the wound forever open. This is even more pronounced when your parents are in the public eye. For a man like Boosie, this can mean lots of opportunities needed to feed, clothe, and house you, your siblings, and I'm sure the dozens of family members that he's responsible for. So to little Boosie, Russell, Simmons, and the likes, I say kick those brats to the curb. But before you do, call Jake from State Farm and take out an insurance policy on them. Although they were a terrible investment, their eventual demise might send their siblings to college. So it's not all a loss. Absolutely preposterous. So, if you've picked up a Sports Illustrated magazine, or really any magazine since 2015, you might have noticed that the covers remain the same size, but the bodies on it keep getting larger and larger. And don't get me started on Dante's own inferno known as TikTok. 5 seconds on the app and you're immediately accosted by some 300-pound gremlin with hair that looks like he just lost a grappling match with a Crayola box, telling you that your attraction to an hourglass shape is not only fat-phobic, but it is rooted in racism. Jesse, the receipts.
Okay, so I get this question a lot under that video specifically. I'm going to show you the gist of it in the form of a skit. However, I highly recommend everyone here reads Fearing the Black Body by Sabrina Strings, and also taking the time to learn about eugenics and how that factors into racism and the current beauty standard. Oh my God. I love being fat. Because at this current time, as a white man, me being fat means me have lots of money. Me very rich and better than all the poor people in town. Fat also means big, strong, big, able-bodied, big, strong man be fat. Wait a sec. What the fuck is that? So, what is that dark creature and why is it so big? Guys, we gotta look into this. Okay, boss, I looked into it. These creatures, they're bigger and hotter than us. They got big juicy ass. Oh, how could this be? Me, white man, me most beautiful, me most smart, most able-bodied. Black creature can't be big like white man.
So, let's take a second to go over some of the talking points that the body positivity movement likes to throw around as facts. Starting with the term fat phobia. See, a phobia is defined as an irrational fear. But there is nothing irrational about the fear of getting fat. Heart disease kills 795,000 people every year in North America. That is 1 in every 5 deaths. That is more than cancer, cigarettes, and car accidents combined. What's irrational is you qualifying anyone stating those stats as a bigot who's performing violence against fat people. And to say that fat phobia is inherently racist means that by default you believe that black women being overweight is a factory setting, which is actually racist within itself. And yes, I did say specifically black women because the body acceptance umbrella does not extend to men. No, fat men are still seen as sweaty, creepy, and unworthy of magazine covers as they have been since the dawn of time. Unless, of course, they're willing to sacrifice their genitals on the altar of wokeism. Then at that point, they're elevated to the status of fat trans women. And those ones now are a protected class with all the resources that society can muster. A human panda, if you will. And then we're told that fat is beautiful, but also not willing to date someone who's morbidly obese is a form of bigotry. Jesse, the receipts.
All the pretty girls walk like this. Pretty girls walk like this.
If you do not date fat people because you just happen to view fatness as neutral but not be particularly attracted to it, fine. That's a preference. If you don't date fat people because you think being fat means that they are gross, lazy, live an unhealthy lifestyle, or are embarrassing to be seen with in public, that's fatphobic. But to insist your preference is for people who aren't lazy, sloppy, and disgusting and unhealthy, meaning that means you prefer skinny people because all fat people are those other things, that's actually bigoted. That's actually deciding that one group is all the same because of how they look. Hope that makes sense. Have a good day.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that you cannot be fat and pretty. But in that case, you would be pretty in spite of being fat, not because you're fat. No man, if given the choice between a fit and toned life companion or a morbidly obese one, would choose the latter. Now, notice that I said life companion, because those same men will have absolutely no qualms renovating large guts behind closed doors, but they will never be seen in public with them. So why is that? It's because above all else, men value status. And the quality of the woman in your life is often a reflection of how well you're doing in said life. You don't believe me? Ask yourself the last time you've seen the likes of Chris Hemsworth with a 350-pound date at a Met Gala red carpet. The answer is never. Now, am I saying that it is impossible for a man to be in a relationship with a woman twice his size? Of course not. See, men are keenly aware of our sexual market value, and we're willing to play within it. Most men in committed relationships with morbidly obese women are either morbidly obese themselves, therefore severely limiting their options in the sexual marketplace, or it's a question of survival, right? They're looking to stay in a country, or they're plain old homosexuals digging in lard-coated guts for a place to stay, or it's some sort of fetishist itch that needs itching. But no matter what the reason is, more often than not, when that man's situation improves, the first thing that changes is the quality and, most importantly, the size of the woman on his arm. And finally, we are told that it is imperative to rearrange the entire fabric of society as we know it in order to accommodate the unconscionably large amongst us. And nowhere are these ridiculous demands made more than when it comes to the airline industry. Jesse, the receipts.
Things that plus-size travelers hate. When the tray table can't come down, worrying about asking for a seatbelt extender. Having little to no room to move. Narrow aisles and bulkhead seats. Tiny airplane bathrooms. Worrying you're going to break the toilet. Getting pat down because you're fat. Tiny airport chairs with armrests.
So you want to hear my hot take on plus size travel and why I think every plus size traveler should get a free second and even third seat on an airplane? Then you better keep watching and sign my petition to make some real change. Let's just state facts. Plus size travelers need more space. And many people agree that plane seats are too small, even for the average size person. As a plus size traveler myself, I know how uncomfortable and unsafe it can be to squeeze into a tiny airplane seat. We are not asking for special treatment or luxury accommodations. We simply want enough space to travel comfortably and safely without fear of being discriminated against because of our size. It's truly that simple. If you agree that every traveler deserves to fly comfortably and without fear of discrimination, then go ahead and please sign my petition and share it with everybody that you know. Let's work together to make air travel more inclusive and accommodating for everyone.
So, in a nutshell, what this young lady is asking for is either the airlines company slash their profit margins by selling less seats in order to accommodate her demand for half the plane, or a total and complete overhaul of the current design of airplanes. Notice, however, that none of the solutions she offered involved taking accountability for her lifestyle choices. She wants to continue eating herself into an early grave in the seat next to her, but we are responsible to make sure that she's comfortable doing so. Ma'am, if you are unable to upkeep your jumbo jet setter lifestyle by flying the friendly skies, I suggest you consider swimming the seven seas. Why do you feel entitled to free seats just because you can say no to Costco free samples? You want more space on a plane? Cut calories and exercise regularly like the rest of us. Until then, enjoy getting stuck in your seat as a result of your gluttonous lifestyle. Absolutely preposterous. Moving on. So, a river of liberal tears inundated the streets of the internet this week following the release of country music star Jason Aldean's new song, Try That in a Small Town. Jesse, the receipts.
This morning, country music star Jason Aldean is defending his controversial music video after it was pulled from rotation on CMT.
Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road.
Critics have blasted Try That in a Small Town, saying it has a pro-lynching undertone.
I can't remember a time, at least in the last 30 years, where a video got yanked because suddenly there was an uproar.
In the video, images are projected on a building, some showing clips of protests, looting, and tense police encounters.
Carjacking old lady at a red light. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store.
But Aldean fired back at critics, tweeting, "There is not a single lyric in the song that references race or points to it. And while I can try and respect others to have their own interpretation of a song with music, this one goes too far." Critics have also taken issue with the building shown in the video, the Maury County Courthouse, where a young black man was lynched by a white mob in 1927. Aldean says the song is about taking care of your neighbors.
Somebody needs some help, you'll get it.
In the past, the singer has taken heat for his views.
He's been anti-vaccine, anti-masking, and anti-trans, and now pro-guns, pro-running people out of town.
But industry experts say don't expect an apology.
This kind of mean-spirited song and video has been rapidly applauded by a lot of his fans, and if he apologizes for that, they'll say he backed down.
Although it's been pulled from CMT, the video for Try That in a Small Town is now trending online. The song is still playing on radio stations nationwide.
So, they're saying that the song promotes violence and has lynching undertones. In other words, the song is racist. So I want to start off by addressing that latter point, right? So let's take another look at the lyrics, shall we? Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk. Carjack an old lady at a red light. Pull out a gun on the owner of a liquor store. My question to the liberal elite, are you saying that these are strictly black activities? That pointing them out and denouncing them is a full frontal attack on blackness itself? Or is it the rioting and pillaging in the music video that screams, I'm black and I'm proud to you? See, this is yet another example of the self-cannibalizing nature of wokeism. You said that you're trying to fight racism, yet you're the racist in this whole equation. White liberals traffic in the creation of non-existent boogeyman solely for the purpose of pretending like they're saving us from something. They infantilize and reduce us to these defenseless damsels in distress who will be lost without their allyship or benevolence. And then through acts of meaningless virtue signaling, get us hooked onto their savior tit. But in reality, this is what they think of us. We are a sucker punching, old lady carjacking, liquor store owner robbing bunch. And then there is the whole, Jason Aldean's music is promoting violence jazz. Oh, how rich of you. Are we really at this point, you have to wonder if these people have a single self-introspecting bone in their body. We're really going to rehash the whole violence in music debate? As though there is not a single month that goes by without a video or picture of some rapper choking on a pool of his own blood, making the runs all over Twitter. When is the last time you heard of a country music star getting holes put into his chest as a result of a beef stemming from one set of lyrics or another? Is this song more violent than, let's say, I don't know, King Von's Armed and Dangerous? You know what? Why don't we actually find out? So let's pull up the lyrics to King Von's Armed and Dangerous. Here is how the chorus goes. Police steady watching me. Every day they clocking me. Red alert, armed and dangerous. I keep the Glock on me, boom boom. And I ain't looking for no trouble. I'm just looking out for me. Cause I done did do shit. Them niggas ain't talking about no rapping beef. Boy, I'm talking tragedies, massacres, casualties. Shit I can't even remember, but they remember me. Shit that happened last December. I bring the winter. I bring the winter heat. Niggas dying this whole October. I am the real Halloween. So, King Von spends 3 minutes not only snitching on himself with places and times, but also offering a motive behind his actions. At the time of his death, King Von was the #1 suspect in at least 10 different homicides. Those are serial killer numbers. But did that stop him from climbing the Billboard charts at a dizzying speed? Of course not. Because in the eyes of white liberals, he was just an inner city kid telling tale of his environment in a slightly violent, but yet Shakespearean tone nonetheless. A confused thespian, if you will. And that is why we as black people, it is well past the time that we unshackle ourselves from our true oppressor. That oppressor that sees us as weak and defenseless creatures, incapable of taming our propensity for violence. Creatures often told that their shortcomings are actually their most sanctified of virtues. And any request for self-betterment is actually hate speech. Anyone who tells you that you are fine just the way you are and you shouldn't bother improving doesn't care about you. I would even go as far as saying that deep down, they hate you. And one day, when you're no longer of any use to them, they will discard you and bask in the glow of your demise. Absolutely preposterous. Moving on. All right. Our Goofy of the Week this week goes out to Carlee Nicole Russell of Hoover, Alabama. This is how we were initially introduced to Carlee. Just see the receipts.
This is where Carlee was last seen, here on I-459 near John Hawkins Parkway in Hoover. On Thursday evening, police say Carlee called 911 saying a toddler was walking down the side of the interstate. After calling police, she stopped to get the child and called a family member. When police arrived, they found her car and belongings nearby, but no sign of her or the child. Family members now on the search for Carlee, her parents desperate for her return.
To keep applying the pressure to keep this thing going. We really want this to blow up. We want the word of the day to be Carlee. We just want to have her back home safe.
Now, law enforcement, local organizations, and Anaya Blanchard's mom, Angela Harris, also helping out with this search.
As soon as I woke up this morning and saw the Facebook post, I immediately reached out to the family and to friends. Like, how can I help? And knowing that the situation is very serious and knowing what this family's going through, I just came immediately.
Now, her parents tell WVTM that she was last seen wearing all black and white Nike shoes. They are also putting this flyer.
So, after this report came out, the story immediately garnered national attention. And every single three-letter agency from the FBI to the Secret Service was put on alert. And millions of dollars in state and federal resources were deployed to locate Miss Russell. 48 hours after her disappearance, Carlee turned up at her parents' doorstep, giving us all a sigh of relief. Just see the receipt.
Great news for the family of that young woman who went missing following phone calls to say she was stopping along a highway to help a toddler she'd spotted. Police say Carlee Russell is back home this morning, and ABC's Morgan Norwood has more on what we know right now. Morgan, this case was unbelievable. So many people wondering what happened to her.
Yeah, good morning. Lots of questions, right? And you can imagine the shock, even relief from her family this morning. Police say Carlee Russell returned home overnight and was taken to the hospital for evaluation. And though she is safe, the mystery surrounding her disappearance, it deepens as police work to determine where she was for those 2 days and what happened.
This morning, after a frantic 48-hour search, police now say 25-year-old Carlee Russell has been found. The Hoover Police Department says Carlee had been taken to a local hospital overnight for evaluation. According to reports, Russell showed up at her family's front door. This news coming on the heels of an exhaustive statewide search that rocked this community. Detectives in Hoover, Alabama, fanning out across the city. Flyers on nearly every corner as her parents, Talitha and Carlos Russell, pleaded for the safe return of their daughter, missing since Thursday night. We were able to sit down with Carlee's parents before she was found, where they told us about their grueling search for their missing daughter.
It's a struggle, as sometimes you're numb, as sometimes the tears just flow. We probably have had 2 hours of sleep in the past 2 days.
Carlee's parents say they last spoke with her around 9:20 Thursday night when she called to let them know she was headed home from work. Well, 10 minutes later, Hoover police say she called 911 around 9:30 to report seeing a toddler walking alone on the side of Interstate 459. Soon after, Carlee makes another phone call, this time to her brother's girlfriend, who told Carlee's mother she overheard Carlee trying to help the child.
She was asking the child if they were okay from what my son's girlfriend could hear on the phone. She never heard a child say anything, and she heard my daughter scream, or what sounded like a scream.
Carlee's parents say they were able to track her location, but it pinged to a street behind I-459. When police went to the spot along the highway where Carlee called 911, they say they found Carlee's car with the door open, her keys, cell phone, hat, and wig all nearby, but no signs of Carlee or the toddler. As part of their investigation, police say they're now looking into this video from the traffic cam archive, appearing to show the moment a car pulls over on the side of the road. Over the weekend, the community throwing their support behind the Russell family, from prayer vigils to search parties, even celebrities rallying for Carlee's safe return.
Words can't really describe how it feels to know that the community really has our back.
And millions this morning continue to rally behind the family, joining them in that relief that Carlee has been found. This morning, though, it is unclear how Carlee returned home, but police do say that she was alone.
Now, it wasn't long until this story took a page from the book of critically acclaimed French author Juicy Smouillet. Jesse?
Breaking news out of Alabama tonight on Fox 5 News at 5. We're learning more about the disappearance of Carlee Russell. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Tom Haynes.
And I'm Alex Whitler, in for Courtney Bryant. Police officers in Alabama say Russell called 911 last Thursday. They say that she was calling to report a child wandering off the interstate. 2 days later, after a massive search, she returned home. Officers say before she disappeared, Russell took a robe and toilet paper from her job. She then grabbed food, got on the interstate, and called 911. Police say they also found several suspicious searches on her phone.
On July 11th at 7:30 a.m., the term, "You have to pay for an Amber Alert," was searched. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term, "How to take money from a register without being caught," was searched. On July 13th at 2:13 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term Birmingham bus station was searched. On July 13th, 2:35 a.m., a search for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville was conducted with a departure date of July 13th.
Authorities say they don't believe there's any threat to the public.
Carleethia, you sweet summer child. Look, you can be stupid and a criminal. You gotta pick a struggle, baby girl. You cannot be both. Like, when are you people going to realize that the biggest op is that phone in your pocket? Charlamagne the God made a really compelling point about this. He said that Google needs to come up with the why button. If you Google some dumb shit, like do you have to pay for an Amber Alert, Google should ask the reason behind your inquiry. Imagine a loved one walking up to you and asking you how to take money out of a register without getting caught. You will smack the weave off their head and tell them to sit their ass down in a corner somewhere. But personally for me, my Japanese meter began to go off the moment I heard the 911 call. A pantless white baby walking down the highway in the dead of the night? That is straight out of an M. Night Shyamalan movie plot. You're telling me that this black woman got out of her car on the side of a dark interstate to help a potentially possessed white baby? Why don't you just try to sell me the interstate in question? And then she says that an orange-haired redneck with a bald spot snatched off her wig and Apple Watch and threw her in the back of an 18-wheeler and fed her Cheez-Its for the following 48 hours. Carlee, haven't you learned anything from your mentor, Juicy Smouye? You don't lie on Donald Trump's good name and get away with it. And now here we are. You not only embarrassed yourself and your family, brought ill repute to every single penniless white baby in the state of Alabama, squandered untold sums of taxpayers' money, but you have now also made it infinitely harder for past and future kidnapped victims of color to be believed. And all that for what? For what, Carlee? What, maybe a Dr. Phil interview and a couple extra followers on Instagram in hopes that they will convert into OnlyFans patrons? Anything less than a lengthy prison sentence, hefty fines, and a public apology to every penniless baby in the state of Alabama will be an outrageous miscarriage of justice. And to all of you cloud-chasing hyenas, thinking to follow in Carlee's and Juicy Smouye's steps, remember, keep Donald Trump's name and likeness out of your goddamn mouth. Absolutely preposterous. And that'll do for the show this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Please don't forget to share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you know when we're uploading new content. We're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers before October, so each and every form of engagement helps. Until next time, stay preposterous.